Welcome to Into the Creative Mind, where we talk about how to navigate through the business side of the creative space, to stay inspired, stay creative, to make a living, and even more. Sharing the things I've learned and continue to learn while bringing on others who have also been able to grow their creative business so we can maybe help you grow yours. Hope you share and enjoy. Hey everyone, this is very, very spontaneous. We are here with Charlene. Charlene or Charlene? Char.
Yeah, like Charlie. My dad's name's Charlie, so I'm Charlene.
Oh, that's cute. Do people ever call you Charlene?
Always Charlene, and I don't mind it, but we'll get it right on camera.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Into the Creative Mind podcast. We are here with one of the most talented and creative photographers I've ever had the pleasure of working with. We've got Charlene. Thank you for being on this. Guys, fun fact. This is her first time ever being on a podcast. So what I like to do on my podcast is basically ask people, we're going to run that back, but I think that's fine because you didn't say all that much.
Yeah.
Moving forward. We are here in Burlington, and she runs a successful photography studio as well as a photography business. And I'm here to just pick your brain on how you did it. So tell me, how long have you been in the industry and what got you started?
Awesome. So I've been in industry for about 6 years. I started when I had my first son, actually. I had someone come into my home and take images of him. So I was like, oh, this would be a pretty good, cool side hustle for when I'm on maternity leave. And then I kind of just asked the photographer if she would do a mentorship or, teach me everything she knows. And she said yes. And it kind of took off from there. So I started doing it as part-time here and there, did some model calls. Then I really got into it, started renting studio space, and then I got into maternity. And then I took the full plunge and got my own studio.
I mean, that was you broke it down
I broke
perfectly.
it down.
You broke it down perfectly. What were you doing prior to photography?
I used to work in travel insurance, so in the corporate world.
Very different.
Yes, and I absolutely hated it.
Oh, yeah. That's usually how that works.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people. How many photographer creative friends do you have?
Not too many.
Really?
Yeah, not too many. No.
Everyone. My biggest thing is I love networking. I love getting to know people and their stories. Hence why we're doing this. A lot of people were doing things that they didn't love doing, and they found their creative spark, and obviously it got them into doing what they're doing now. What made you take what made you ready to say, okay, I'm going to take this full time?
Well, I think being on the maternity leave helped because obviously I had kind of my full-time job still, but then I kind of went full force into it. And I don't know, people were liked what I was doing. And then I started just to get more popular and more confident. And I took a lot of workshops. I did a lot of mentorships. I really invested in my education because if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something 100%.
I really want to dive into that.
Yes.
We'll dive into that in a bit. Now, have you always been a creative person?
Yes, I've definitely always been creative. I wanted to be a florist. I dabbled in that. I used to do cakes and cupcakes. So I've kind of always been into, being creative and kind of doing entrepreneurial things like that.
Okay. And that was always a side thing?
Always a side thing, something small, doing with a friend just for fun, yeah.
What gave you the confidence to say, quit travel insurance like that, especially being a new mom?
Yeah, exactly.
That must have been scary.
It was pretty scary. Honestly, I took a business mentorship, and that's what gave me the confidence. Because as you know, photography, videography, content creation, the pricing is all over the place. It's what's that guy charging? Well, that guy's charging $300, and okay, I'll charge $250 or $350. Well, it's no, you got to do your cost of doing business. You have to calculate those things. So I had to be profitable. That was my thing. I'm not going to just go in here thinking, oh, I'm going to charge $500 or $700.
There had to be a rhyme and reason.
There had to be, exactly. So that's when I took a business mentorship to just kind of change the way people saw photography. I really want to offer a luxury experience. So that's why we do the hair, the makeup. I have gowns, outfits. We do everything here. So I really want to offer an experience rather than just pictures on the wall.
So 2 things to that. And I actually have another question for you. My first photo shoot, I charged a whopping $25.
That's not even a point at that point.
$25. And I was just like, oh my God, someone's actually willing
to
pay me some money
to do this.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And obviously when I first got into it, my mindset was, oh, at that time, the most I've ever made was $13-14 an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But sorry, no, like prior to like my actual corporate job, where I looked at photography and I was like, people could probably get paid like maybe $20 an hour. So when I did the photo shoot for an hour and I was like $25 because $25 for the hour, I was like, easy money. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah.
What did you first charge?
Oh, good question. I probably charge, like I was starting with newborns. So obviously you need to really know what you're doing. I had to take classes, invest in some props and wraps and stuff like that. Maybe around $350
for your first photo shoot.
Probably.
That's decent. Like that's great.
Because I started with newborns, right?
Yeah.
So like there's like education and safety that I needed to invest in already, right?
Yeah. So
I didn't come in super low, but I think that was like the average. Unfortunately, some photographers are still charging that amount of money. That's for sure.
Especially people starting off though, right?
Yeah, which I get, right? But at the same time,
it's definitely one of those you get what you pay for.
Yes.
Now this mentorship, the last time we had talked, we were talking about all that stuff because I mean, personally, like I haven't invested in any type of mentorship as of yet. I know, but I feel like it's because I'm just putting myself in rooms where I can obtain this information, and also it's like an exchange of services.
Yes.
So there's this mastermind that I attended not too long ago. This guy named Evan Carmichael. Okay. Shout out Evan. I've been talking about him a lot. Guy has 3.8 mil on YouTube, runs a successful he's a part of this like thought leadership. That was the word. Okay. Thought leadership business. And he has this mastermind. And he had asked me to come out and shoot it. But as I'm shooting it, I'm learning so much from all these brilliant entrepreneurs in this room. Yeah. So I just kind of, I'm already learning.
Yeah, I'm already there. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then on top of that, like doing the thing every single day, you'll eventually just get really good at the thing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So when did you realize that maternity was your thing? Like why was maternity?
Yeah, actually, when I started, I didn't even want to do maternity. I was just like, oh, I like the babies. I want to cuddle babies, this and that. And then a friend of mine was pregnant, and at the time, a studio was opening up a new room. And I was like, oh, let's try this place, right? And I tried it, and I shot it, and she was a stunning girl to begin with, but it went so well. It was Mint Room Studios, so shout out to Mint Room Studios. And then they featured me on like their photographer's feature page. So then I got really popular with, just exposure from them. So I started shooting at that studio a lot. And then I just loved it because obviously if I tell a woman what to do, move and pose, they're going to do it rather than a baby. It's a little bit more difficult.
Just to give a little bit more value to the audience out there, why do you think business mentorship, masterclasses, workshops are important, especially for people in our space?
Yeah. So I believe it's important just to like have value for yourself, for your business. Like people just don't know. I feel like they just don't know what to charge, or they don't realize, oh, it's a 1 hour photo shoot, so I'm just going to charge $100 for the hour. Well, no, there's so much more that goes into it. All the correspondence with that client, all your prep, the before, the after, the editing, the calling, like hours go into that 1 hour photo shoot, right?
Yeah. So you recently just went on a trip.
I did. I just went to Dallas for another. So every year I like to invest in a workshop or a mastermind, something like that. Education. At least I do one thing every year. It's also an excuse to go on a little vacation. But so this year I went to a summit. So it was a newborn and maternity summit, and there was a bunch of photographers come from around the world. And we had like photographers from Australia, for example. And they did lectures, they did workshops. Lots of it was focused on business, like learning in-person sales and stuff like that. So it was really amazing, really, really amazing.
What would the one takeaway be from that workshop?
One takeaway is that I would love to start speaking at these workshops. So kind of one of the reasons I went was kind of to connect with kind of the people who were running it, just to see how can I get in there and start talking at these mentorships, kind of to explain or to teach other people, like this is how you can do it. This is how you can make, a little bit more money. This is how you can offer a luxury experience and stuff like that.
So for people that don't know, We actually connected on Instagram. You reached out to me
That's right, yeah.
beginning of this year because you wanted to grow your brand
Yes.
and continue to build yourself as, and we were talking about this, to build yourself as a leader in the photography world or industry or whatever it may be. And you've been absolutely killing it with content.
Thank you.
Now, the next stage is obviously continuing to do it.
Yes.
So my question to you is, what is the next steps? Like, what are you going to be doing?
Yeah, so I think, like we were discussing before, like hosting workshops here. I'd love to teach some local photographers in the area about, maternity, lighting, posing, the business aspects, social media.
Soft plug.
Yeah, so I would love in the near future to start hosting workshops. And obviously in the new studio space, it's the perfect space to kind of have, a small group, about 10 people to host something like that.
Yeah, we are currently in Pearl Street Studio
right,
in
yeah.
Burlington, Ontario. If anyone is on the West End and needs a photography studio, currently also a podcasting studio. This was
Yes.
kind of like the soft launch of what you can expect to do in the studio. There's a bunch of other like spots in this room or in the space that you can use, but this is what I envision because I like this background. I like this background behind me. Like this is tough. We're currently doing a Christmas
Christmas in
setup.
the summer.
Christmas. I mean, you got to get ready for Christmas.
Yeah, you got to get ready for Christmas. You got to be at least 3 months ahead of the game.
There we go. I was just talking to a client of mine, and sidetrack, 2 years ago when I started in this industry, because I started off with photography, and then I realized I was good, but I wasn't great. I was just telling her this story. The enemy of great is good.
Yeah.
And for someone to be a great photographer like yourself, and for me to be a good photographer, you will outwork me every day of the week. But I realized one thing I'm really great at is video production, being able to tell a story, and really working with brands to truly help them grow. Before we get into a deeper question, I always like to ask, what do you think it means to be creative?
Oh, take me off guard there. I guess to be creative, like to express yourself, to take, inspiration from other things from around you. Like I love taking inspiration from fashion, architecture even, going on trips and stuff like that. So just kind of taking that and interpreting it into, something stylistic or like for photography.
One of my favorite poses that you had was it was a photo shoot here earlier in the year, and it was the gown or the dress that was like laid out, and you did like a
overhead.
That's a tough photo.
Yeah.
How did you? Where did that inspiration come from?
Oh gosh, that is a tricky one. Well, I do offer a lot of the gowns, and the gowns are very big and ruffly, and I just really want to showcase kind of the ruffles and mom's like figure in that kind of like sea of ruffles. So that's where I kind of just got like a bird's eye view just to kind of capture her whole body, like a nice woman figure, like in a sea of ruffles pretty much.
How would you, for photographers out there that don't really know how to style yet, or they're having a tough time trying to find their own image,
Yes.
would you say you've found your style, found your like signature look?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I feel like I do. I feel like people come to me definitely because I have a certain look. I feel like it's a modern, but also I do some timeless in there. I like to take, like I said, like high fashion, editorial. I'd say that's my style. I'm not like not everything I do is a giant gown or like super timeless or something like that, but definitely modern, trendy. I like to have fun using different lighting setups and stuff like that.
Speaking of lighting, everyone's favorite question. As a photographer, are you more in favor of natural light or flash photography?
Yeah, 100% flash.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
There's nothing wrong with natural light. I love, that's how I started.
Except everything. No, I'm playing.
That's how I started. It's just the consistency. It was driving me insane. Like I couldn't handle, like I take a picture, then the next one, it's like the lighting was always off. So just to deliver a consistent gallery where it all looks the same, unless you're doing obviously a totally different lighting setup. But it's easier. And I like to control all the elements rather than you take a shot and it's too bright. And the next one, it's too dark. And just constantly like guessing. If anything, I feel like it's harder sometimes with natural light. And people's like, no, flashes. I'm like, no, you're only controlling
The only reason flash is
thing.
hard is if you don't know.
Yes.
Like it is so much easier to be a natural light photographer because the settings that you need to change is your shutter speed, ISO, aperture.
Yes.
That's it. You might have to throw on an ND filter if it's too bright, but with flash, you kind of actually have to dial into like the settings. You have to understand what's happening in the lights and what's happening in the camera and how they both kind of like dance together to create the perfect image.
Yeah, it was definitely a huge learning curve, but it was something I enjoyed, and I knew I needed that to kind of level up and scale up my photography.
And on top of that, I always say, people say equipment doesn't matter. And for people that actually tell themselves that, you got to stop lying to yourself, because equipment 100% matters.
It does.
Imagine if we were shooting this with just our iPhone.
Yeah.
And the microphone from the iPhone.
It would not be the same. Definitely not. This is why I hire him, to give me these beautiful, crisp videos. It's not the same. You know, sometimes it'll do in the moment, the behind the scenes.
Stories.
But, stories, you know, when you want that raw type of footage, but to deliver like that nice, crisp.
And especially if you're going to throw some, like, I don't know if you're going to throw ads behind the video, but if you're going to throw some money behind the video so you can actually get out to the right audience, the video better be like good.
Yeah, it needs to be good. I agree, yeah.
Now, 6 years is a long time to be in this industry. And you know what people say about business? Most businesses fail after 5 years.
Yeah.
So you're ahead of the game.
So far.
I'm assuming you've dealt with your fair share of burnout.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
How do you overcome that?
So in the beginning, especially, I was busy. Luckily, I kind of started right after COVID, when a lot of photographers were actually shutting down. So it's kind of a weird spot is when I started, but I was busy and I was having shoot after shoot, and I was like, oh my God, I was staying up to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning editing. It's like, I can't do that anymore. So that's when I felt like, okay, I need to raise my prices. If all these people can afford me, they got to go up. So then I started raising and raising and raising. And now, I'm comfortable with like 8 shoots a month. I'm comfortable with that.
8?
8.
Wow.
2 a week.
Yeah.
3, okay. 4, maybe. But any more than 4, no, I'm exhausted, because my shoots, they're long, right? Because we do the hair, the makeup. I like to take my time. I don't want to be rushed. I don't be like, oh, I have another shoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really want the client to feel like at ease. So that, like, the whole client experience, again, is super important to me. Like, maybe they'll come here and, like, we order food, we hang out, we have lunch. Yeah.
Get to know each other.
Yeah, because they know each other. It's true, because then they're usually coming back because they're going to probably buy some products. They're going to come back for their ordering. They're going to come pick up their picture. We're going to sit down, have a coffee, and they're going to come bring their baby. And then they're going to come for Christmas. So it's like we do develop a nice relationship with each other.
As you finished that sentence, I had 100 questions flow through my head, because there's so many things that people out there don't like. I mean, and it's no fault to their own. You don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know what else to offer other than photography. And to your point about client experience, 9 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, if your client experience is top notch, they're coming back.
Yes.
I was told the hardest thing is to get new clients. Mm-hmm. The easiest thing is to keep recurring clients. Then you ask yourself, if you're not seeing growth, if you're not busy, why aren't they coming back?
Right.
And it all dials down to the client experience, which I feel like is going to be more valuable of a question that I ask, which is, how do you provide a luxury style type of service in photography?
Yeah, so like I said, I think just taking your time, offering those services like hair and makeup. Like, they don't have to go somewhere for makeup, somewhere for hair. Offering a client wardrobe is great. Not everyone does it. It obviously is an investment, but sometimes you just need like some basic pieces, especially for maternity. A few different fabrics. You can do flowing fabric. I make lots of dresses just out of fabric, as we shot once in a video before, right?
Yeah.
So just investing in some key pieces and not having the client worry about anything, right? That's what I love. It's like, I want them to come here and everything is taken care of.
And your family's here.
Yes, they're here.
All right, guys, thank you so much. We'll probably do this again sometime, but thank you so much for listening into the Creative Mind podcast. Where can people find you?
Charlene Ariana photography.com, or my Instagram, Charlene Ariana Photography.
All right, guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll see you all in the next video.
Thank you. Take care.